These aren't the stories your mother told you. No, these are the other stories.
Today's episode of The Other Stories is Yellow Tape, written by Xavier Garcia and narrated by James Barnett, aka Jimmy Horrors.
The tape clicks and whirls as it settles into the VCR, blue loading screen whirring to life and glowing all soft and warm and fuzzy from the static building up on the front glass of the CRT TV. Then the blue screen transitions to a black one, like there's a cap on the videotape recorder. Nothing else on the black screen but scan lines cutting it up and the date and time stamped on the bottom left-hand corner in a white monospaced font. What does the date say? Elle says. July 21st, 2023. That was like, what, 8 months ago, says Lionel. The blue screen suddenly transitions to an image. It is that of a washroom. Despite the bad quality of the recording and the low light of the room, it is easy to pick certain features out. The mirror above the sink is smudgy, flecks of toothpaste about halfway up. The countertop is a walnut cultured granite. The grey matches the blue towel to the right. There are 2 toothbrushes in the little holder beside the tap, one white, one black. And then there's a hair tie on the counter, green and tangled up with what looks to be red hair. Lionel, please tell me this isn't our washroom, says Elle. Fuck, it is. You're right. Why the hell would Archie leave this to us in his will? When did he even do this? July 21st, 2023. 8 months ago, she says. The static shot lasts for another 5 minutes. Nothing on the screen but the washroom. Then, in the distance, the sound of a door opening. Distant voices. Distant voices of Elle and Lionel. Distant voices of Elle and Lionel in the outside hallway as they enter their home. That's us, isn't it? Asked Lionel. Yeah. Oh my God, Lionel. You recorded this while we were in the house. Yeah, says Lionel. As the voices become louder, it can be assumed that Elle and Lionel are approaching the washroom where this video is being recorded. The camera finally moves, shakily, but not necessarily panicky. The movements are slow and methodical. The handheld shot moves through the washroom towards the back. It moves past the lip of the bathtub and then settles into a lower perspective. We can assume the camera person is now sitting inside of the tub. We hear the pulling of a shower curtain. We can assume the camera person is now concealing their presence. The voices of Elle and Lionel are in the distance, now nearly audible. The camera slowly shifts in the hands of the camera person, turning 180 degrees to reveal them. Archie! The now revealed camera person, Archie, takes up the entire frame of the shot. He is dressed entirely in motley. Despite the bad quality of the recording and the low light of the room, the pattern of the harlequin can be made out. Diamond checkered, patchworked yellow, the uniform of the fool. The woolen fabric in tears and tatters, the motley coat in ruin. Little left to mark the station of a court jester, save a collarette, 3-tiered and a mockery of a monk's cowl, crowned in derision by the floppy ears of an ass. This is what Archie is wearing in the shot. He is dressed entirely in motley. Why is Archie wearing that? Asks Elle. Her voice sounds calm, but then her hand slides over her pregnant belly out of some parental instinct to protect her unborn child, and the actions reveals her discomfort. Lionel hears and sees nothing of this. His eyes are on the TV screen. He's not looking at the motley. He's looking at Archie's face. Archie is smiling as he stares into the camera. His eyes are red and watery, and the corners of his mouth twitch in what could be pain. It does not look like Archie is only smiling for this shot. It looks like Archie has been smiling for a very long time. In the close distance, the sound of the washroom door can be heard to open. You looked so hot tonight, says the voice of Lionel through the TV speakers. The speakers aren't very good. His voice sounds tinny and flat. No, I know I did, says the voice of Elle through the TV speakers. The quality of the sound is unchanged. Her voice is just as tinny and just as flat. Despite the low quality of the audio recording and the distance of the subjects, we are able to make out the vague sounds of shuffling, and then a little yelp from Elle. Maybe Lionel has lifted Elle onto the counter. Maybe he hasn't. We can't know. We don't see. We only see the smiling face of Archie. The shuffling becomes more pronounced and then is followed by what could be assumed to be the sound of kissing. Elle is giggling. Her laughter is breathy and flirtatious. And then Elle moans. "I think I'm going to be sick," says Elle. No other sound can be heard in the shot but Elle's moaning as Lionel pleasures her off screen. Although the subjects do not appear in the shot, the moment feels intimate, the camera's presence intrusive. Archie is now smiling so hard that tears have welled up in his eyes.
"Fuck me, Lionel, please,"
says Elle. A tear can be seen running down Archie's cheek from the strain of his prolonged smile. Despite his ear-to-ear grin, he seems to be in great physical pain.
"Fuck me, Lionel. Let's go to bed, baby."
We hear the sounds of what can be assumed to be Elle sliding off the counter onto the bathroom floor before the couple exit the room. We do not hear the washroom door close. Do not hear anything at all. We only see the smiling face of Archie. The static shot lasts for another 5 minutes before we hear the sounds of sex in the distance. And then Archie moves for the first time in the recording. With the back of his hand, he wipes away the loose tear.
"Hello, my friends,"
says Archie. "Fuck you," says Lionel.
"If you're seeing this, I'm surely dead."
Archie bursts into laughter before clasping a hand around his mouth. His movements are dramatic. His eyes are wide. He removes his hand but presses his index finger against his lips in the universal shushing gesture.
"Quiet now,"
he whispers, then points vaguely to the right.
"Can you hear that? That's the sound of your baby being conceived."
Archie smiles wide. "What the fuck?" says Lionel. Elle says nothing. And then, "When was this recorded?" "July 21st, 2023. Around 8 months ago," says Lionel. It should be noted at this time that Elle is 8 months pregnant.
"Oh, I know. You're thinking, how could I know that? How can I know that as Lionel plows into pretty little Elle, that he's at this very moment impregnating her? Well, if you're seeing this, the proof is in the pudding. Congrats, by the way. Though I'm sure I've already said that to you in person. But alright, kiddos, I'll tell you how I know. You see, I've met someone. Oh yes, I met them after I was diagnosed with, well, what it is I was diagnosed with. I don't like to say the word. I was feeling blue, you see, and I wanted to tell my good friend Lionel. I wanted to tell my bestest friend in the whole wide world, Lionel, that I was dying. That I was scared. But Lionel, of course, good old Lionel. He always just got a little bit bored whenever I spoke about myself. Not that I'm judging, because I'm not. But I do admit, I was feeling a little bit lonely. I was feeling a little bit scared. Then one night I met him. In real life or in a dream. I don't actually remember, and it actually does not matter because I met him nonetheless. One night I met a king, and he listened to me, and he cared for me, and he promised me that this would not be the end. Not if I didn't want it to be. Not if instead I joined him in his kingdom, in Dim Carcosa. Not if I wanted a place within his court, to serve him in Dim Carcosa. Not if I wanted to laugh with him, to sing with him, to dance the idiot's dance on the shores of Lake Harley. Not if I agreed to forever be his court jester in Los Carcosa. To be his fool in yellow. What could I say to that? Elle? Lionel? It might be hard for you two to imagine this, but it's hard being your friend. You're both so Wonderfully, annoyingly perfect. And sometimes, in the past, it's been a little bit lonely living in your shadows. Remember in college? Remember Lionel, when we were roommates? And you and Elle would fuck while I was still in the room. And it was like I wasn't there. Like I didn't exist. Like it didn't matter what I saw or heard or if I was there. Because actually I wasn't there. Because actually I didn't exist. And I've lived my entire life not existing. And now here's this king, when he's asking me to be a part of his court. And can you believe it? All I can think about is how much I'd like to know for once what it feels like to exist. And my king, he sees this. The hesitation on my face. And I feel so embarrassed. I mean, he's already been so generous with his offer. But he sees my hesitation. And so he gives me a second one. To live a life again from scratch. A life truly seen. One more chance at it. And then, when it's over, when it's all said and done, I'll dance for him the idiot's dance. I'll serve him in his court. And I'll laugh forever and ever in the empty halls of Lost Carcosa. So, my friends, you want to know how I know that in just that other room, Lionel is impregnating Elle? It's because in just that other room, I'm being conceived again. By the time you see this tape, I'll already be dead. And then soon after, Elle will give birth to me. And then you'll both finally see me. And I can share in your perfection. And I'll finally know what it's like to be loved by you. How strange to think of it. All the times that Elle looked so annoyed after catching me looking at her boobs. And now, when she goes to breastfeed her newborn baby, when she looks down to her child suckling at her breasts, it'll be my lips at her nipple, and my face that she stares into. Elle will be breastfeeding me. And Lionel, maybe now you'll invite me on one of your famous camping trips with the boys. I'll be your son after all. Apple of your eye. You want to show me off like the proud father you are. I can't wait. But all good things must come to whatever. You know how it goes. Anyway, I do have to go. Need to sneak out before either of you decides to take a post-sex shower. So, Mum, Dad, see you soon.
Archie is seen reaching forward to the camera's controls before the image cuts out. The tape finishes. It clicks and whirls as it settles into the VCR. The blue loading screen glowing all soft and warm and fuzzy from the static built up on the front of the glass of the CRT TV. Elle and Lionel sit silently within that blue glow. The only light in the basement. Neither saying a word. They sit like that for around 5 minutes before someone speaks. The tumour must have been affecting him in ways we never saw, says Lionel. Yeah, says Elle. He must have been having some kind of psychotic break, says Lionel. Yeah, says Elle. Let's try not remember him this way, okay? Okay, says Elle. And then Elle jumps when she feels the baby in her stomach kick. He's kicking, she says. Usually, she'd reach out her hand to touch her tummy, to feel the kick. Usually, Lionel would reach out his hand to touch her tummy, to feel the kick. Neither moves. Elle feels her skin break out in goose flesh. She gets up to leave the room for bed, but she cannot hide the disgust on her face. Lionel does not get up to follow her.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Other Stories. Yellow Tape was written by Xavier Garcia, narrated and produced by James Barnett, aka Jimmy Horace himself, with music by North Without End and Mayu and Tom Robson, and sound effects provided by freesound.org and ghosthack.de. The episode illustration was provided by Luke Spooner of Carry On House. Josh Boucher is our story programmer, and along with Jasmine Arch and the eyeless ones, Mary Pastrano and Cody Czarzasty, he helps to manage our community. And a big thanks to Ben Arrington for the ongoing explosion of content he fires out of his social media cannon. Xavier Garcia is a writer-editor from Toronto, Canada. His short fiction has appeared in various magazines and anthologies published by Fugitives and Futurists, Cold Signal, Hex, Apocalypse Confidential, Cursed Morsels, Filthy Loot, and others. You can find him walking the nightmare corpse city of Ria or on Twitter at Xavier_A Garcia. James Barnett is the producer of the Night's End podcast, which was recently just relaunched as part of the Other Stories podcast network, and Aftergloaming. Search for them wherever you get your podcasts. You can catch other works of his at jamesbarnettcreative.com. The Other Stories is a production of the Story Studio Hawk and Cleaver, and is brought to you with Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. That means don't change it, don't sell it, but by all means share the hell out of it. So,
Until next time.